Welcome back to the Green Means Go channel. It's your host, me. I'm excited today because we are starting a new series on the Green Means Go channel. It is called Games I'm Watching on Saturday, so let's talk about them now. I'm still workshopping the name. The point of this video is to give you a rundown of all the promos sportsbooks are offering for college football. It's to take a look at the three most intriguing games to me on the slate, break down some things from that game to give you a better idea as a sports fan and better what to maybe expect. As always, if you do appreciate the content, a subscribe goes a long way. It's human psychology, guys. I'm sitting at like 380. People are going to look at my channel and say, this guy's trash, man. 308. His videos get 25 views. Horrible content. And while that may be true, it's going to help me grow if you guys can keep running those numbers up to tell people who are new, hey, maybe this guy's got a little something for me. So I appreciate that very much. And again, this video is going to serve as an overview and a preview. If you want to tail the bets I'm talking about, feel free, but in no way am I endorsing these as EV or sharp or anything like that. I'm just telling you where my head's at as I go into Saturday, and we will get started here with the promos that are already up on these sportsbooks. Taking a look at the week one promos, keep in mind it is Thursday, so not every book has their Saturday promo listed. BetRivers has a parlay insurance up, 4 legs, miss one, get your bet back. I believe there is a minimum odds requirement, so you might want to check that out before you lock anything in. And DraftKings does have 2 promotions up for this week. A no sweat bet, check your max, everyone's going to be different, and a stepped up parlay, meaning the more legs you add, the bigger the boost. The first game that I have my eye on this week is the game noon Saturday, Colorado visiting TCU. Now, obviously, we have a ton of things to talk about with Colorado. They look like a completely new team, and TCU loses a lot of key pieces, but one of the better teams last year in terms of meeting expectations and exceeding expectations. As far as the game weather, holy smokes, guys, it's going to be 101 degrees. 18-mile-an-hour wind, maybe cool off a little bit. Cloud cover 1%. It's going to be a scorcher, all right? So keep that in mind as you maybe think about what wagers you are placing. I do think that has an impact on wagers. Now, Vegas has probably already accounted for it, but it's still good to keep in mind. Let's talk about the good for each of these teams. I'm going to assume that adding Deion Sanders is going to be good for this program. His record at Jackson State when he went there, as you can see, was pretty darn good, 23-3, going 8-0 in the conference both years. Now, completely honest, I get it. Different competition. All right, he's with the big boys now. He was playing with the gutter guards on, and now he's being thrown to the wolves. So that's going to be an adjustment, I believe. Keep that in mind as the season goes on. Now for TCU, I think the addition of Kendall Briles is going to be another step in the right direction. He was the offensive coordinator for Arkansas last year, and we saw Arkansas be dominant in the run game, especially on offense. Briles has 15 years coaching experience in the NCAA, and his offenses are averaging almost 40 points a game over those 15 years. So he knows his stuff. He knows what he's doing. And although they do lose their offensive coordinator from last year, I think he is a perfect replacement. Now let's talk about the bad. And I'm going to assume this is bad. I don't know for sure, but Colorado has 70 new transfers this year. The NCAA roster size is a minimum of 85 to a maximum of 105, which means that over 70% of Colorado's roster is different this year. To me, that's a bad thing. You could argue maybe fresh faces, new talent is good, but it's going to be, I think, so difficult to get everybody on the same page in a new system this quick. TCU, the bad. Only 10 starters return out of 22, 3 on offense and 7 on defense. So good for their defense, really good for their defense. Over half come back, but the offense is tough. The quarterback leaves for the draft. Top 3 running backs from last year are gone, and top 4 receivers are also gone. My players to watch for this game are Shedeur Sanders. Funny enough, that is a display of nepotism, ladies and gentlemen. The quarterback for Colorado is Deion Sanders' son. We saw this at Jackson State as well. So they are just following each other around. Now, he was phenomenal at Jackson State. Amazing player. I'm interested to see how he does against a real team, okay, respectfully, a real NCAA football team. I think there's going to be a ton of learning curves for him, for this team. So I am interested to see how he does in this first game where he is being thrown to the Wolves. Not an easy matchup. And Cormani McClain decides to commit to Colorado. He is a freshman this year. He is the number 1 cornerback recruit. I think he's like 6'5". Dude is a freak athletically, but he's a little small. So, I say 6'5". He needs to put on some weight, I think, some muscle. So we'll see how he holds up with TCU's receiving core. Should be an interesting match this week. My players to watch for TCU are quarterback Chandler Morris. This guy is no slouch, even though he was behind Max last year. And I'll say behind because he started the season. He was supposed to be the starter last year, and then he got injured in the first game against Colorado, and Max took over, and we saw what happened there. He does have 5 career starts, and his numbers are solid. I think he'll be fine. There's still, some analysts are unsure. I don't know. I think he's got what it takes to lead this offense. So I'm high on Chandler Morris. And Trey Sanders is not listed in the depth chart as their number 1 running back. He comes over from Alabama, and we know that Kendall Briles loves to run the ball. He did so at Arkansas so often, so much. That was their offensive game plan. And although Chandler Morris may be a guy suited to have a pass-heavy offense, I do think Briles will lean on the run, especially in a game against Colorado where they'll probably be up early. Sanders is not listed, like I was saying, as the number 1 depth chart running back. Imani Bailey is listed as number 1, but I don't think that's going to kill Trey Sanders' production. So keep an eye out for Trey Sanders this year. I think you could get some sneaky money on him early before hopefully, not that I'm smarter than Vegas because I'm not, but I think if we can get some soft numbers on his rush yards, it may be something to capitalize on. Taking a look here at the numbers, we see Colorado as a massive underdog for good reason. I don't think you take a team with 70 new players, throw them into a situation like TCU and expect anything else. I don't think there's any value for either of these lines. The spread is sitting at 20.5. I still don't think there's much value here. I'm not touching anything spread related. If I had a lean, it would be TCU minus 20.5. The over-under is set at 64, and this one is tempting to me to take the under, given that it's going to be hot, given that we know Briles likes to run, given that I don't think Colorado scores a ton of points in this game. So I still haven't decided what I'm going to do, but it's definitely something I am interested in. As far as my bets go, again, I'm not locking any of these in, but I just want to tell you where my head is at right now. Under, like I said, 64, I think, is my lean. And I really like the under 21.5 for Colorado. You take a team with 70 new people, you throw them into a situation where they have to go on the road. Sanders, the quarterback and the coach, are playing the toughest matchup they've ever had to play, okay, out of 20-some games. And you expect them to put up 3 touchdowns and 101 degrees. I don't, all right? So I am leaning the under for the Colorado total. Player props, this is one thing about this series that's going to frustrate me. Player props are not probably going to be listed until Friday night, Saturday morning, which is going to kill some of the content. So we'll work around it. FanDuel does have Trey Sanders anytime touchdown score up at minus 155. Imani Bailey's number is like minus 370, which shows that, he's the guy. But I do think Sanders is a bigger back, could get more red zone work. So at minus 155 for a team that I think is going to put up 40-some points, I think there's value in that number. And he does not have any rush yards up, but if you can get Trey Sanders over 49.5 rush yards, if his total is listed and it's listed around there, that is something that I will also bet. The second game that I'm looking forward to this week is West Virginia visiting Penn State in a night game. We have confirmed that it will be a whiteout situation in Happy Valley. Okay, I'm assuming they're going to be dressed just like this. It's their thing. It's going to be 81, perfect weather, not too hot. Sun's going to go down. They'll be fine. Penn State's a little interesting this year because I think they don't get talked about because they're in a conference with Michigan and with Ohio State. So interested to see what Penn State's able to do this year without a lot of attention on them, at least at the start of the season. My questions involving these teams both revolve around the quarterback situation. West Virginia, we're 2 days away, and they haven't even named a starting quarterback. Now, people think it's going to be Garrett Green. We will see. So who knows what's going to happen with West Virginia. Also, Penn State. The coach did not come out and say that Drew Aller's the starter. He's the starter. I don't know why he's doing that. Oh, we're still having a battle. We're still trying to... No, you're not. It's Drew Aller. Stop playing around, okay? So my question, though, is what's the offense going to do? I think they're going to want to show off Drew Aller in this game, but they have the ability, I think, to run the ball in West Virginia for as much as they want. So we'll see what happens. My matchup to watch in this game is the West Virginia running backs versus Penn State's defensive line. West Virginia running backs, they returned their top 3 running backs. Last year, they had 171 rush yards a game, and all 5 of their offensive linemen returned. That's a recipe for success. I mean, if you want to perform well, that's the script right there. So we know the offense likes to run the ball. However, they are not put in a good situation. They're in a stadium that's going to be uncomfortable. Now, they're probably going to run it more because they want to slow down Penn State's offense. They want to slow down the crowd noise. So I expect them to come in and run the ball, but against a top 4 defensive line in college football, right? So I don't think it's going to go well, but I do think that's going to be their game plan. So that's what I'm most interested in this game is how can West Virginia slow the tempo down while having success against a team and a defensive line like Penn State. Time will tell. Taking a look at the numbers here, again, I'm interested in another game where it's pretty lopsided. Plus 900 for West Virginia, minus 1,200 for Penn State. No value in the money line. Another spread sitting at 20.5. I would lean Penn State minus 20.5, but I'm not touching it. The total is interesting to me. And again, I'm struggling because I think Penn State could put up 40 points, and I think West Virginia is going to put up between 14 and 17 points. So bizarrely enough, I think I lean over 50.5 in this game, but I don't love it, so I'm not going to touch it. Just where my head's at. As far as the bets I am looking at, Nicholas Singleton, yards and a touchdown. Again, this game's 2 days away, so we don't have any numbers on it right now. If you can get 89.5 yards plus a touchdown, same game parlay for around 275, I think that's a good bet. Again, I'm just handicapping these numbers. I'm ballparking them. I'm guessing. I don't know, but that is kind of my metric. And I think it's always good to have a metric going in. That way you can tell yourself if you're making a good bet or not. If you can handicap a game and kind of decide what the line should be, and then you see the line, that gives you a better idea of if it's a bet you see value in or one you should skip. What I've gone back and forth on is this West Virginia team total. I think they're going to struggle with the run, which is their offense, and I don't think they're going to have success in the pass, which means I think they're going to struggle scoring points. However, in games like this, we can see them having 0 at halftime, and then Penn State's up, 28-0, and then the motivation to shut down an offense dwindles. So I see Penn State scoring between 14 and 17 points, which is right on that number, meaning I'm probably going to skip this. If this total is at 17.5, I would take the under, and I would feel okay with that. But at 14.5, it's a pass, but it's one I am watching. The third and final game that I have my eye on for the first week is LSU at Florida State. This game is actually at 7:30 on Sunday. We don't have NFL until next week. College football is throwing some games on Sunday, and they're throwing probably the best game of the week on this Sunday night primetime slate. Now, the hurricane looks to not be a factor in this one. I know Florida State, I know the Florida Gators went to Dallas to practice this week. I'm going to assume that Florida State also relocated, but I think that they'll be fine on Sunday to be back and to be ready for this game. It's going to be hot, but it's going to cool off as the night goes on, so I don't think weather should play any real part in this matchup. Taking a look at the matchup history, kind of shocking. They only played each other once in the last 20 years, 30 years, really. And that was last year where Florida State won 24-23. I believe it was a missed extra point that cost LSU the game. Florida State has dominated this matchup. Now, again, is this data relevant because it's so old? No, but it's interesting to look at. And a lot of these games were in LSU, and Florida State came in and dominated. So LSU has only won one game in the last 80, 30, 20, 50 years. All right, so that was me doing mental math out loud. So that doesn't mean anything. It's just a cool statistic to share. So let's go ahead and look at some guys I have my eye on in this one. Jayden Daniels and Jordan Travis are both the quarterbacks for this team, both guys with experience. If we look, I've included the Heisman Trophy winner odds as of right now for this season, and you see that outside of Caleb Williams for USC, these two guys who are playing a week one match are the next two. So these are two of the best quarterbacks in the nation, and we get the pleasure of watching them on a Sunday night game in September. You love to see it. Comparing their data from last year, I mean, it's a pretty even split in terms of performance. Jayden Daniels threw more, completed more, had a higher percentage and less interceptions. Jordan Travis had more yards, he had a higher average, he had more touchdowns and a higher rating. So both guys with talent. I'm not going to pick one to outperform the other because I think they're both capable, but I definitely will pick one to outperform another in just a second. Taking a look at the numbers, very even matchup. Florida State is the slight dog at plus 120. We'll talk about that in a second. They're getting 2.5 points, staying away from that key number of 3.5. I don't think it's going to tick up to 3.5. I think the best you're going to get is 2.5. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked if it came down one more number at 1.5. So we'll see. Over under set at 56.5. I think that's fine. I think that's fair. I'm not tempted on either side of that. As far as my bets go, again, this game's so far away. Not a ton of lines are out. Jordan Travis pass yards, I'm going to make an educated guess. If it's around 235, I'm taking the over. I can see this. I'm probably being optimistic. I think it's probably going to be 265. So that's going to put me in a tough situation. LSU's passing defense is their weakness, and you get Florida State at home in a game that they expect both teams to score 4 touchdowns. So I think Jordan Travis comes out and plays well, so keep an eye out for his passing yards number. And I do like Florida State in this game. I know a lot of people don't. I just think that they have less questions right now. LSU maybe has the better talent, but they've dealt with some injuries this offseason. They're dealing with a suspension. So my lean is Florida State. Not something I'm probably going to just play to play it, but something that I will consider if a promo or a boost shows up in one of my promos from these books. So those are the 3 games I'm most excited for in week 1. As always, I appreciate you guys stopping by. If you want to see other content related to this, drop it in the comments. I'd be happy to provide that for you. I'm going to keep a record of all of my official plays this season so we can track my performance. Again, I like to back my picks with promotions so that I'm pulling even more value out of this because I'm not sharper than Vegas. I'm just not. So as long as you are betting with promos, you are doing a good thing. As always, I will see you next time. Take care and enjoy the games.